Hi again then guys, and welcome to another Forza Horizon 3 speed build, this time featuring a Mercedes-AMG model rather than a Mercedes-Benz model. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the name change there, but whatever. It's the C63 S Coupe. It's one of the relatively few cars of this kind of caliber which doesn't necessarily have the kind of engine options which you would typically expect. In particular, it doesn't have the V12 option. It has the 5.2 V10, which is still a 1200 horsepower engine in twin-turbo, fully tuned form. As far as the drivetrain, I would recommend having, as I would always recommend, all-wheel drive, if at all possible. If you don't want to have it, as I always say, you don't need to fit it necessarily. But it does help a lot off the line, helps you to just get the power down more efficiently, and of course it helps out immeasurably off-road as well. As far as the rest, you guys pretty much know the drill by now. Fit all of your racing parts, generally speaking, except for the roll cage, which is optional, and of course the front and rear wing, which I would not recommend having for a speed tune, because it's just not necessary. For handling it's great, but not for speed. You could fit it, again, it's like the rear-wheel drive thing, it's down to personal need and personal preference. As far as the benchmark, the acceleration in particular is pretty impressive. 1.8 to 60, 3.7 to 100, 262 flat out. And incidentally, before we get into the tune, this setup is available on my storefront. You can use the keywords in the video description to find that, or of course, you could just follow this tutorial instead. Now for the gearbox, I'd recommend a final drive of 3.1, then individual gears of 2.9, 2, 1.5, 1.17, 0.95 and 0.79. Kind of surprising to me that this doesn't have a 7-speed, especially given how new the car is, but it's kind of cool that it doesn't. I like the simpler approach. As far as the alignment, we've got neutral camber, neutral toe. As I always say, you can give it some of those if you want to. 5 degrees of caster. As far as anti-roll, we've got those on 32 and 21, springs on 225, 200, and I've opted to basically leave the ride height essentially stock, front and rear. Dampers we've got on 15, 14, 7 and 6. Aero doesn't apply on this car, and for the diff we've got 100%, as I usually do for acceleration, 0 for decel, and it's slightly more tail happy than usual with an 80% rear bias. But that's it for the tune. So now let's see if it can actually do that kind of speed. Overall, I don't really hear that much chatter about this vehicle in particular. I don't see that many people championing the car or using it that much, which isn't overly surprising given that we also have the black edition, essentially, of the older model, which is a very capable car and it's quicker than this one. So it's not too surprising that that's the case. However, this car has kind of, I would say, an executive level sleeper appeal to some degree. It definitely has a lot of use as far as performance goes. Top end though, it's not as strong as some. It can get up around 261, 262 with a longer straight, but you really do need that extra straight to get up to that kind of speed. It comfortably gets up around 250, 255, and then the last few miles per hour takes a bit longer. Off the line though, it's strong, the handling is very impressive, and it loves to drift, so it's definitely a good all-rounder. But overall, if you do decide to use this tune, I hope you have a lot of fun with it, and there are plenty more like this to check out, which you can find by clicking through to the full list at the end of this video. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.